Hey everyone, this is the 3C Coach, where we apply behavioral theology to real-world leadership crises. Recently, TSA agents across America worked without paychecks. Some called in sick, some quit, but many showed up anyway, protected millions of travelers while their own bills went unpaid. What can leaders learn from their example? And let's break this down using the 3C framework of character, competence, and courage. Here's the thesis. TSA agents working without pay exemplify servant leadership under duress. Their behavior proves that organizational commitment can transcend transactional exchange, but only when mission clarity and moral obligation converge. Their example demonstrates that intrinsic motivation, rooted in duty, identity, and public trust, can temporarily sustain performance even when the psychological contract is shattered. The moral anchor for today comes from Colossians 3, verses 23 and 24. Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord, not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. Now let's unpack this using the 3 C's. In industrial organizational psychology, we talk about something called the psychological contract. It's simple. I give you my effort, you give me compensation. When that contract breaks, trust collapse and people stop going the extra mile. But here's what's remarkable. Some TSA agents overrode that broken contract. They exhibited what we call organizational citizenship behavior, an extremis, going beyond their job description despite being abandoned by the system. Research links this to pro-social motivation, people who see their work as serving a higher societal purpose. The leadership lesson? Intrinsic motivators like purpose, duty, and identity are more durable than paychecks, but they're finite. You can't run on fumes forever. Character reveals itself when the transaction breaks down. These agents showed us what mission-driven identity looks like. Now let's look at competence, the second C, by covering the root cause. This wasn't a frontline failure. This was a systems-level governance failure, a budget impasse that created operational chaos from the top down. No amount of frontline excellence can compensate for executive or legislative dysfunction, period. Airports with higher absenteeism, that's predictable variance. Agents with lower financial reserves, weaker mission ties, or better job options were actually left first. From a process excellence standpoint, this exposes a broken feedback loop. Stability requires closed-loop accountability. Leadership at every level, agency heads, legislators, the executive branch, must own the consequences, not externalize them to workers. Here's the competence insight. When your system design forces frontline workers to absorb the leadership failure, your system is incompetent by definition. Now this brings us to the third C, which is courage, by exploring the theological scripture frames works not as mere employment, but as stewardship before God. Colossians 3:23 says, we work as for the Lord, not for men. The TSA agents who stayed, they were living out a theology of faithfulness even when their earthly employer failed them. But here's the leadership warning. To demand sacrifice without reciprocal care is exploitation, not leadership. The Bible condemns leaders who muzzle the ox while tread out the grain, which is Deuteronomy 25:4. You don't consume the labor without feeding the laborer. The ultimate lesson, leaders must never mistake endurance for endorsement. These agents' perseverance was a grace period, not a sustainable model. Exploiting it is moral bankruptcy. Courage isn't just about showing up, it's also about calling out systems that abuse the courageous. So here's the question I want you to sit with. What mechanisms exist in your organization to ensure that mission-driven employees are never forced to choose between financial survival and organizational duty? And if none exists, what does that reveal about your leadership's true priority? That's the 3C framework in action: character, competence, and courage. If you're a leader, a board member, an executive navigating high-stakes leadership decisions, this is the lens that you need. Be sure to subscribe for more behavioral theology breakdowns. Drop a comment. What leadership crisis should I tackle next? And remember, leadership isn't about managing people. It's about stewarding souls. I'm the 3C Coach, and I can't wait to look forward to talking with you next time. Take care.